A very good afternoon to everyone present here. It's an honor to welcome you all to the expert talk featuring Mr. Manoj Chugh, a distinguished IIT alumnus with more than 4 decades of award-winning experience as a transformation leader. Sir has led more than 5 major technological businesses in India to pole position. A huge round of applause for Sir. To initiate the journey of learning, let me address the August gathering that includes our Honorable Vice Chairman, Mr. Vineet Sir, along with Professor Sadgopan, Founding Director of Triple IT Bangalore, and now the Professor of Practice at BIPS with Chandra Ma'am. A huge round of applause for them too. To welcome our speaker of the day, I would request Mr. Vineet Sir, our founding chairman, to kindly felicitate Sir along with Professor Sadgopan.
Something which will make you feel very good. So I'm quoting Bill Gates. The photographer is the most important person on the planet. When he or she says, chin up please, up goes the chin. Whether it is Bill Gates or Bill Clinton, then Bill Clinton is the president. So that is the power you wield, right?
Now the moment we have been waiting for, I would like to formally introduce our eminent speaker, Mr. Manoj Chugh. Sir has a pioneering career spanning over 42 years. He inspired the building of internet and information in the building in terms of India. He is amongst the top 100 IITians who stayed back in India and contributed significantly to the country's progress. Sir has been an instrumental force in bringing together the key factors in terms of technological infrastructure, which are the foundations embedded in India to leapfrog and leverage digital transformation for public good. Mr. Manoj has donned the hats of various executive leadership, including President at India and SAARC Cisco System, along with Regional President of Asia Pacific in Japan, till recently as the President of Tech Mahindra Limited. He brings a wealth of experience not just from industry but from reputed position as a board member of Care Ratings Limited, Agriculture Skill Council of India, Chairman Storage Network India Association. For his contributions toward enriching the innovative approach, he has been awarded the Distinguished Alumni Award of IIT Kharagpur in the year 2022. Sir is the IT Man of the Year by the National Foundation of Indian Engineers, along with IT Man of the Year award from War India for the year 2023. He is an active member of the Academic Council and Research Advisory Council at Tehri University and a member of the governing body at Amity University. If I keep talking about the great valor and remarkable stature that Sir has achieved, then my words will keep flowing and they will never fall short. Now, without further ado, I will request Sir to initiate the session.
All right. Very good morning. How's everyone doing here this morning? First of all, I'd like to thank the Honorable Vice Chairman, Vineet ji, for your very gracious and very warm welcome at your beautiful campus here. I'm very thankful to Harsh ji for inviting me. He sent me a message and I think I instantaneously said yes. It'll be an honor for me to be here amongst you today. And the big bonus for me is that I have the honor and opportunity of meeting Professor Sadgopan, who I have known since the 1980s, from the time when he was at IIT Kanpur. So it's been a long journey with Professor Sadgopan. He has seen me through the years when I was a very young, fresh engineer, barely a few years out of college. And he's been a great support, he's been a great friend. He's been somebody who's encouraged me over the last many, many decades. And Madam, my great pleasure to get to meet you today. Professor Sadgopan always hid you from us. So at least today we got the honor and opportunity. I'd like to, how much patience do you guys have? Are you okay with 100 PowerPoint slides, 120, 50? Anyone? How much patience? How many PowerPoint slides can you last? Please remember there's no ambulance outside. Huh? So it means you need to be wide and awake, right? So how about you? How many PowerPoint slides can you last? As much as the other guy, right? So he said 5 slides. You're 100. Wow, great. Well, let me give you some great news. How many of us really love PowerPoint? Nobody, right? But on your CV, you're certainly going to write your PowerPoint skills. Am I right on it? Anyone here not writing that I don't have PowerPoint skills? Anyone writing that on their CV? Nobody, right? Everyone writes, I've got great PowerPoint skills, but yet nobody loves PowerPoint, right? That's something which I realized many years ago as well. So let me begin the morning with some great news that there are no PowerPoint slides here this morning. So warm round of applause to that, right? Let's get the energy levels up. Okay. No PowerPoint slides. So why are there no PowerPoint slides? There are no PowerPoint slides because my skill on PowerPoint on a scale 1 to 10 is 1, 1 being lowest, 10 being highest. And why am I unafraid to share that with all of you? Because I have not written that on my CV. So nobody tomorrow can say that what you have written is wrong or false and so on, all right? I'm going to divide my talk this morning into 2 parts, all right? So I just need your patience. In the first part, I'm going to share some real life experiences which have shaped my thinking over the last many years that I've had the honor and opportunity of working in the industry. And these incidents actually start way back, way early in my career, because these are what shape how you will behave going forward in the future. And I just thought that some of these learnings may be of interest to some of you here as well. In the second part of my discussion today, we will talk about winning. What is winning about? How do you win? How do you chart out a course for yourself if you have to win going forward in the future? And we will weave some leadership behaviors, key leadership behaviors, which I think are important ingredients to helping you create a winning culture and create a win for yourself in the process of your journey as well. So, people at the back, can you hear me okay? All right, you're all going to listen patiently to me. If anyone is getting bored, what are you supposed to do? Just raise your hand, all right? Then we'll change topic. We'll crack a joke, we'll do something, right? But please, it's early in the morning. If there's some lessons that I can help you with, I'd be very honored and very delighted. I'm actually going to go to the final year when I was graduating from college. It's where my first learning came. Now, the final year is a very tricky year because in your final year in college, you have mixed feelings, right? There's tremendous positivity that, look, I'm going to finish, I'm going to go out into the world, I'm going to create a career for myself, I'm going to get educated more or whatever it is, but you see a finality to your journey in some fashion, or at least that part of your journey, the education part of your journey. So there is that positive enthusiasm, and obviously, you're looking with hope in your eyes in terms of creating a bright future for yourself and people around you. And yet there is that bit or tinge of sadness. And why is that tinge of sadness? Because in a way, a very happy phase of your life is coming to an end. And that phase of life, who has created for you? It is your friends, it is your classmates, it is the students with whom you've spent the best years learning together, crying together, enjoying together, having fun, isn't it? So it is mixed feelings that you have in the final year. And of course, for many of us, you also have your heart, in your throat because you're looking for a job. So it was hiring season. So that's really the most exciting season in final year in college for anyone who's graduating. And companies used to come to our campus, and we had a rule that if somebody got a job, then they were out of placement. You couldn't kind of, keep applying, and one guy gets all the jobs and the rest don't. So in those days, now things are a little different. I'm talking of, more than 4 decades ago. Typically, organizations would come and they would do a final shortlisting on campus, and then they'll make the final offer in head office when the final interviews were being held. It was the end of our season. And there's this classmate of mine, very bright individual who I had great respect, regard for. He was much smarter than I was. But somehow it was not his lucky time. And he was not able to crack any interview. So he had no final interviews which he had, pending, if you will. So we were on the last day, absolute last day of hiring on campus, because the campus season is very, very well defined in many institutions. Now, he and I had got one final interview, which was common for one of the firms, and then I had a few more. But he wasn't sure. If you've got just one final interview, God forbid if you don't make it, then what happens? You're then back, you're not in campus anymore, you're going to apply from out of campus, that's hard. And there was just last day left. There was one more interview for him to give. And that was the same day that this organization, where both of us were shortlisted for the final interviews, invited us, right, to their head office to come. And that was in Calcutta. So he said, look, I'm in a dilemma. If I go for the final interview, I don't get that final interview, then what happens? I'm out. Now here's another firm which is coming and I have a chance. So what do I want to do? I want to do this interview which is in the afternoon and I want to do that final interview. And I said, okay, fine. I'll be going earlier. I'll hold place. I'll hang in there. I'll keep waiting there. I'll request them to wait till you come. Finish this interview. Maybe this goes very well. Maybe they give you an offer. But even if they give you an offer, for heaven's sake, come, because I'm going to be waiting at the other end. So I went for the final interview. They asked me, Manoj, where's your friend? Deepak, I don't see him here. I said, no, he actually is going to get something. He had some submission, etc. I made some story up. I said, but I'm going to be waiting for him, so he's going to come for sure. They said, yeah, that's fine, because we're going to be here till late in the evening. So the interview started at about 6 in the evening, first interview for me. And I was very clear that I would goof up the interview. Because I said, look, I got 2 or 3 more final. My friend has only one. God forbid if he doesn't get the job that he's interviewing for, then at least this is a high probability job and role for him. So I went in for the first interview and they asked me very simple questions. They asked me what is the plan of a pyramid, and I said a triangle. And I mean, it just went downhill from there. Every question was answered wrong. But they were very patient and they said, okay, why don't you wait outside? We'll go for the second round of interview. I was very happy with myself that I have really goofed up the interview. Even if they want to give me the job, they can't, because even the simplest of questions I was answering wrong. Second round of interview happened, that was worse than the first. Then they said, okay, let's change the style of interviewing. Let's do another round of interview for him, because my friend had not come till then, so they had time. They did a third round of interview. And third was even worse than the second. I think by that time they were at their wits' end and they said, when is your friend coming? I was very happy to hear that. I said, great. Now they are waiting for him. I am not going to get this job, come what may. So around 8 in the evening, my friend came. He was crestfallen. He was just not in the right shape, stressed out. And he said, Manoj, I didn't make it in that interview. I said, don't worry. You have every chance of making this one. Right? Just be your normal self. Sit down, calm down, have a glass of water. I went and told the reception, my friend is here, just give him 10 minutes. He needs to gain his breath. The guy was panting and huffing and puffing and so on. And then what happened, right? He was a brilliant guy. What do you think happened in the interview? He aced all the 3 rounds. One after the other, very quickly, aced all the 3 rounds. It was around 9:30 in the evening by then. And the HR guy came up. He said, Manoj, I first want to speak to you. I was surprised. Why does he want to speak to me, right? I goofed up all the interviews. He came out, he said, look, I don't have good news for you. I'm very sorry. We can't give the job to you. But we're going to give it to your friend. Now, that was the happiest day of my life. Because I felt that the least I could have done is help my friend who had no other opportunity to go get a job. And then they called my friend aside and then, they congratulated him. They gave him the offer letter. We waited there. It was after 10 in the evening. And I was only interested in getting my train fare, But being a student, right, every penny counts. I had spent money to come. I said, okay, I don't have the job, so at least let me take my train fare, which they were gracious enough to reimburse. And then, my friend and I, we painted the town red. We came back at 3, 4 in the morning. I don't remember. And I thought that the incident had ended. I thought this story had ended. But that was not the end of the story. I'm going to fast forward 2 years from that date. 2 years from that date, I was at the Delhi airport. I was going to catch a flight, and I found the CEO of that firm who had interviewed me 2 years ago. We had goofed up the interview. He was also at the airport. He passed by me. I was hoping he would recognize me, right? Because when you goof up an interview, right, you don't want to be remembered as the guy, right, who has interviewed the worst with an organization. He stopped. I also stopped. He smiled. I also smiled. And he said, Manoj, how are you doing? I was taken aback that he remembered my name. And I said, sir, I'm really very honored that you remember me. And he said, of course I remember. You spent, an evening with us, and it was wonderful, and so on. And he said, Manoj, I'm in a hurry. I need to go. I said, yeah. And he said, what are you doing? I said, I've joined the IT industry. He said, great, good, congratulations. I'm having fun, I said. And then as he was walking out of the airport and I was headed inside the airport, he said, Manoj, by the way, I just want to tell you one thing. He said, that evening, we had 2 jobs and not one. So he knew right through from the first interview that I was play acting, because he thought that I thought that there was only one job. They didn't tell us, and I didn't know that there were 2 jobs, right? Had there been 2 jobs, I would have known both of us are going to get it, right? Because we are here, there's just 2 of us. And the big lesson of my life was, and that lesson stood with me and still stands with me today, is that don't think you're the smartest person on this planet. You think you're smart, people around you are much smarter. So when you work in a team, when you work in an organization, when you work with customers, when you work with the external ecosystem, for heaven's sake, don't think that you're the smartest guy. I thought I was being very smart. That I am going and play acting all of these interviews and nobody would see through me. This gentleman had seen through me that evening. And he remembered that. And when he met me, he thought that it's only fair that he shared that with me, that I knew all along that you were play acting. But I couldn't give you the job just because I knew you were play acting, because your behavior did not lend itself to your getting an appointment letter from my organization. So that was the first lesson which I took. It was a great lesson in humility, that you have to be incredibly humble to understand that people around you have great experience, great intelligence, are much smarter than you. And that's the lesson that stayed with me all my life. So right out, before I started my first job, I learned my first big lesson. The second lesson was another interesting lesson. I was very early in my career. In those days, in the technology sector, it was very, very difficult to convince customers to deploy technology, because the cost of deploying technology was much more than hiring people. So if we went to an organization and said, look, why don't you deploy technology? They would say, pray, tell us why. What would we say? Well, it will help you improve your productivity. It will help you to increase revenue because now machines are going to do stuff, etc., etc. And they would say, fantastic, how much does the machine cost? They would put the cost and say, oh, but my accountant 30 years salary is much, much lesser than the cost of your machine. Or my general manager manufacturing, the cost of his salary for his lifetime is a fraction of the cost of the machine. So why should I bring a machine in? Because you are saying I can make him more productive. I'm okay with his productivity, right? Because as far as I'm concerned, my return on investment in paying his salary for the rest of his lifetime is much better than whatever you're doing. So very hard to go and convince people to go and deploy technology. Today, you'd be surprised that those were the kind of objections we would raise. We would hear. It would be very tough for us to fight those objections. So whenever there was a very large opportunity with, say, a large group, then that was a do or die for the organization. Because if you went and you were able to convince the customer, you will then achieve your targets for the full year. That means that bingo, right? That you're going to have your own job and hopefully save the job of everyone in your team as well. So there was this huge opportunity which a senior colleague of mine was pursuing. And we were very hopeful of winning. It was for multiple systems across multiple locations, rarest of rare kind of deals of those years, which was getting big. And what happened was, while we thought that we would be winning it, and that's always the optimism of any organization when you put in very, very hard effort. Unfortunately, so the truth was different. Now, our manager, his name was Mr. Mehta. Mr. Mehta had this habit that he would come early in the morning, much before all of us. In those days, we didn't have air conditioning. A professor would know. If you were lucky, you had a cooler. At that time, the story which I'm sharing with you from that time, there were no coolers also. So imagine, right? It's hot summer like this. There's no coolers. There's no air conditioning. Mr. Mehta would come in the morning, and he had this habit of opening all the windows of the office. So he would go open window by window by window by window. So by the time all of us came in, it was a bit cool because mornings were still a bit better. So he was opening the windows, and we were coming into office, and my colleague, Mr. Banerjee, he walked in. We looked at his face and we realized that something is amiss. Either, you know, he's having a health issue or he's like really troubled about something. So he came in, he was very glum. We kind of looked at him. We were trying to decipher what was happening in his mind. He went up to Mr. Mehta. Mr. Mehta was opening the windows, as I said, and we were on a high-rise building at that time. He came in and he told Mr. Mehta, I've got very bad news to give you. Last evening, I got to know that we have lost the team. We overheard the conversation, and we thought now Mr. Mehta is going to take out his, gun, and he's going to start firing him, and everyone in the office is going to get the rough end of the stick, right? The largest team for the year, for our business, for our office, which we were betting on, was lost. Mr. Mehta calmly continued to open the windows. Nothing. He opened one window, went to the next, started opening. No reaction. Absolutely no reaction. We were waiting for a bomb to go. We said, "Aaj to nahi bachenge." Then Mr. Mehta said, "Mr. Banerjee, can you come up to the window?" We said, now he's going to throw him out of the window. He's calm, inside we don't know what's really bubbling. He's going to push this guy, right? Because we've damn lost the opportunity of doing our targets numbers for the year. He called him near the window and he said, "Mr. Banerjee, can you look up into the sky?" He said, "Yes, Mr. Mehta, looked up into the sky." He said, "Mr. Banerjee, the sky has not fallen. Look up. It's still there." He said, "Yes, Mr. Mehta, the sky is not falling." "So what are you worried about? Go back, go to your desk, start working on the next opportunity." And the biggest lesson for all of us was, how do you manage fear and how do you leverage failure? The idea was to send a message that, look, you did your best. Didn't win the deal. It's no big deal. The sky is still there. Tomorrow also the sky will be there. Day after also the sky will be there. So live to fight another day. Take your learnings and see how you can go and implement them going forward in the future. And life will be good. So that was my second big story. So my friend Deepak from my first story became one of the most incredibly successful leaders in the manufacturing sector globally over the years. My friend Mr. Banerjee was one of the senior most executives in our global IT services industry in future years. The lessons which they took and the lessons which people like us took, being a part of the team, stood us in good stead. So my second story is about managing your fear. That's the big challenge we have. We are very fearful that if we fail, what's going to happen? Is the world going to cast us aside and write us off? What is everyone here going to think about? What's my family going to think about? That despite the education, despite the training, despite everything, yet you're failing. But how do you leverage your failure to drive greater success? And I think this is a lesson which I want each one of you to remember for the rest of your lives. That life is not about one transaction. You will have many failures. But how do you wake up the next day morning very motivated? How do you wake up next day morning with the self belief that you can do it? It's very hard, I know that. It's very hard if, for example, you're responsible for a business and the business not doing well, month after month, quarter after quarter, year after year, to turn around and tell yourself, I have confidence, I know I'm on the right path, I know I will succeed. Becomes harder and harder. But that is what life is about. You have to have the self belief that come what may, at the end of the day, you can win. As long as you learn and leverage your failures and make sure that you make the corrections. Never make the same mistake twice. If you make the same mistake twice, then you are absolutely at fault if you do not succeed. So, for heaven's sake, you're absolutely allowed to make a mistake, but please don't make the same very mistake a second time. My third story is also from the early years of my career. It was a very interesting opportunity which I was pursuing. And this was with one of India's very large trade associations called the Indian Tea Association. Now, this was an association which was headed by somebody who's an expert in the tea industry, not in technology. But they wanted to leverage technology to drive greater efficiency for their members. For 2 years, I pursued this opportunity. And at the end of 2 years, one fine day when I walked in, I met the Secretary General. He said, Manoj, I want to congratulate you. We've decided to do business with you. Now there's a golden rule. And the golden rule is that when somebody tells you that they want to do business with you, what are you supposed to do? So suppose they say, congratulations, I'm giving the business to you. What are you supposed to do? Keep sitting, keep sitting. What will you do? Will you say something? What will you say? No. He said, you have won the business, congratulations. What will you say? Say thank you. Should we say thank you or not? Anyone giving you business, right? Say thank you, right? Simple things, right? In life, everything is very simple, not complicated. Please don't go and start deriving a quadratic equation in front of the customer at that time. Not helpful, right? Simple words. So somebody says, congratulations, I'm giving the business to you. What will you say? Thank you. Absolutely. Say thank you. The second, so please remember this golden rule. Whenever anyone does a good deed to you, whether they open a door, whether they give you a cup of tea, whether they give you business, please say thank you. This is a small change which you pay your way through life, right? Saying thank you. In India, so hard, right? Indians find it very hard to say thank you. Why should I say thank you? That was his job, right? He did his job. But please say thank you. The second thing you're supposed to do is not enter into a chitter chatter. Like you were saying, I want to discuss terms. And no. Decided to get business with you. Thank you very much, sir. Get up, shake hands, turn 180 degrees, walk out of the door. Because you have the fear that what if this guy changes his mind? You don't know, right? Right now the guy said yes. At the end of, if I chitter chatter and solve quadratic equation, then by that time he might change his mind. Get up and go. I did none of that. I was taught that please, for heaven's sake, Manoj, don't do stupid things. Whenever a deal closes, say thank you, get up, shake hands, 180-degree, saunter out confidently, and then fix a meeting and come back again 3, 4, 5 days later, and then you discuss whatever you want to discuss. But I couldn't hold myself. I kept sitting there. And then I started to chitter chatter, like our friend in class has said, right? Oh, I want to discuss terms. I was like that, like you. So I told him, sir, I just want to really understand and learn as to why did you decide to give me the business? You could have given the business to anyone else. Now that's a real tricky question to ask, because what will happen is your customer will start thinking about the whole decision process as they start having this discussion. And what if in their mind that time they realize, I forgot this thing, yeah. Maybe this guy is not the right guy. Anyway, I wanted to know because I thought maybe I will get the Guru Mantra. Because once I know why this person decided to give me the business, what will I do with that knowledge? What will I do with that knowledge? Use it with the next customer. Then what will happen? I will do more business. Then I will use it with another customer. So I started thinking like Sheikh Chilli, All of you have read Sheikh Chilli's story, right? So I started thinking to myself, if I get to know the Guru Mantra today, secret mantra, then life is going to be very easy for me. So I was listening with bated breath. I was sweating. I really wanted to know why is it that they are deciding in my favor. And you know what he said? It broke my heart what the customer said. He said, Manoj, for 2 years you've been coming to me. Let me be honest, I didn't understand a single word of what you said. I was like, what? But I prepared so hard. Every time I used to come and meet the customer, I would prepare, I would rehearse, I would stand in front of the mirror, I would do all kinds of things, trying to articulate what is the value we bring, what is the benefit to them, what is the goal that we're going to help them to achieve, how we're going to help them become very successful. For 2 years, I did it. At the end of 2 years, somebody comes and says, look, I didn't understand a single word of what you said. I said, if you did not understand a single word of what I said, then why are you giving the business to me? You shouldn't give the business. I don't deserve the business. When you didn't understand a word. He says, no, for 2 years, I was only doing one thing. I was observing everyone who came and met me. And everyone met me many, many times. And the only thing I was looking for was who has the most confidence in his value proposition. And he said, over 2 years, nobody can do acting for 2 years. So he said, you were the most genuine person. And I figured out that if you have so much confidence in what you are saying, it must be good for me. That was his only yardstick. And that brings me to a third very important lesson which I learned, which has stood me to good time even till today. And that was the importance of knowledge. Because if you have knowledge, knowledge will give you the confidence. The confidence will build conviction. And when you have that conviction will then get translated and transmitted to everyone around you. And that becomes very, very important as you grow in your career. And therefore, my message, my third message to you, which was my important learning is, please, for heaven's sake, don't assume that knowledge and gaining knowledge is going to end the moment you get your degree or diploma certificate in hand. The journey only begins when you're in fine educational institutions like all of you are blessed to be here. Please assume that this is helping you to set a discipline which you will take forward for the rest of your life. I speak to many business executives and I find that their assumption is that now that I've got my degree and I'm out of the college, thank God, education is over, I don't need to educate myself. I speak to many of them and they say, oh, but my organization is not doing anything to educate me. And I keep reminding everyone, it is not your organization's job to educate you. When you were in college, right, they educated you. When you are in your work life, you need to keep yourself updated and educated on your own. So over the weekends, once you graduate out and you start working, one promise you need to make to me is that come what may, every weekend you will spend 2 hours to learn something new. The good news is today we have many online platforms. There are many opportunities available where we can learn new stuff, gain new knowledge. Because I can assure you that if you don't keep yourself updated, you will not be relevant in the near future. Mark my words. 5 years from now, nobody will want you. Because whatever you have learned is going to be totally obsolete. In fact, some people might say 3 years, some might say 2 years. So please, for heaven's sake, education, learning, knowledge does not end when you graduate from college. This is just the beginning. You follow a semester system. You have exams every semester. When you go into your work life, you got quarterly results, you got quarterly performances you're measured on. So every quarter, in addition to your work, please make sure that you also identify what you're going to learn. I know what I'm saying might sound strange to you, might sound, this guy's talking something which is irrelevant, but mark my words. If 3 years, 5 years from now you are struggling to get a role or a job, it is only because you have not kept yourself updated. How many of us have a smartphone here? How often does a smartphone get upgraded? Updated? every night. When you go to sleep, very quietly, you plug your phone on. Somebody is sending a small, minor update. Some are bigger updates, some are smaller updates. Human mind, when did that last get updated? Your cell phone, you want it updated every night when you go to sleep. What about you as an individual? Don't say that I got updated before my last semester exam. Now I will next get updated when I have to take the next exam. You get what I'm saying? So your smartphone will continue to get updated when you leave college, you work, etc. But are you updating yourself? And I'm not saying that do it every day, right? 2 hours over a weekend. Possible, not possible? What does that mean? That means that no IPL full time over weekends, no net series full time over weekends. For women, with due respect, right? No time only in beauty parlors over the weekends. 2 hours you should take out for yourself. And what should you do? Outside your door at home, you should just put a do not disturb sign. No one's going to disturb. Why? Because I am updating myself, right? My cell phone's updated itself over 7 days. Let me at least update myself for 2 hours over a weekend. Is that fair? You're not convinced, no? Many of you. Anyone not convinced, raise your hand. Anyone who believes they shouldn't update themselves, anyone who believes that they should not continue to educate themselves, raise your hand. Anyone here who believes that Papa should come or Mummy should come, catch me by my neck or by my ear and make me do my homework? No. You're your Papa, you're your Mummy. You need to go do it. There's no professors who are going to take your exams. You need to educate yourself. In your office, don't think that your boss is going to be so benevolent that they're going to spend time in educating you. Your boss is not paid to educate you. Agree with me or not? Your boss is paid to get work out of you. If you're not delivering the work, what will your boss do? Replace you. Find and replace. Simple, no? MS Word, all of you know, right? Find, replace. So how do you remain relevant? You can't blame your boss. You can't tell your boss the day he says, Manoj, I'm sorry, I don't need you anymore. अरे boss, गलती तो आपकी है. आपने मेरे को पढ़ाया नहीं. Can't say that. So please take destiny in your own hands. All right? I'm going to take a few minutes on winning and we'll open this up to Q&A. What is winning? Winning is about anticipation. Anticipation is nothing but about your ability to remain and get prepared. And how do you prepare yourself? You prepare yourself if you truly understand what is your purpose. If you have a purpose, you will prepare yourself, and if you are well prepared, you've anticipated, therefore you've prepared, and that's what winning is all about. I'll tell you a true story. 25 years ago, we realized that internet could be a very big game changer here in our country. Now, we did not have very good physical infrastructure, but we thought that at least if we can go and build information infrastructure, we will be able to create a more better playing level field for everyone. Because imagine in the past, somebody succeeded over another person because they had only one asset which the other person didn't have. And what was that? Information. Asymmetry of information helped people make a lot of money. You had some information which I did not have. You could leverage and exploit that to make money. I didn't have that information. I lost out. There was asymmetry. He had information. I didn't have information. We realized that if we build out information infrastructure, we will be able to create a level playing field, because then information would be equally available to everyone, irrespective of whether the person is in a rural area or in an urban area. You agree with me? Yes or no? So we took the decision that building out information infrastructure would be super critical, because we have a billion people, to providing that level playing field even at that time. I'm talking about 25 years ago. When we started embarking on that journey, we found that there were many impediments. One of the big impediments that we found was that In academic institutions, networking as a technology was not taught, except in a few institutions. By and large parts of our country, with many of the institutions, this was never taught. It was never thought to be important enough. And we said that if we don't create enough skills, what's going to happen? We are not going to be able to build out at large scale. Yeah, we might have a few pilots here or there. So we went to academia and we said, look, we'd like to introduce new curriculum. At that time, introducing new curriculum was incredibly hard. It's much easier now with the new education policy and so on. At that time, very, very hard, professor will tell you, except for IITs and a few institutions, rest of the people found it hard to introduce any course curriculum, UGC, X, Y, Z. So many regulators were there. But we said, okay, you introduce this as an optional subject. Give no marks, no grades for it. Don't put it in your mark sheet. Don't put it as a part of just optional subject. Whoever wants as an option can go study it. Because we believe there's going to be a huge opportunity. So we work with academic institutions. We introduce the curriculum. We introduce certification programs. And what happened over a few years? India has the largest number of networking engineers in the world. You know how many networking engineers India had at the time we started this journey? When I say networking means well-educated networking engineers, well-certified. Take a guess. I'm talking 25 years ago. How many engineers do you think India had? 20. 20. How many networking engineers does India have today? Nobody has the count. Hundreds of thousands. So it's very, very important that you must be clear on your purpose. Our purpose was what? Our purpose was to make sure that everyone in India had an equal opportunity to rise, had an equal opportunity to be successful. It is not just those few people who had access to information and the others who did not. And today, a few years ago, a couple of years ago, when COVID broke out, right, all of you were studying from home, am I right or not? Did anyone even think about where did this infrastructure come from? Did it strike you? Where did this infrastructure come from? Where was it built? Who built it? So someone thought, right? Someone had a purpose. वो तो यूएस में आया था भैया, इंडिया में थोड़ी एप्पल नेट आ गया था. इंडिया जैसी कंट्री में कोई मैजिक से ऐसा नहीं होता है. Please remember, we are a developing nation. We have very few resources. Whatever you can do in some parts of the world, you just can't go cut, copy, paste and bring it. It's very hard. So my message to you today is, when you go out there, please have a purpose of your existence. What is it that you want to do? What is it that you want to change? You have a huge opportunity, right? Digital transformation is opening up massive opportunities, cutting across all sectors, social sectors, business, manufacturing, etc., etc. Are you thinking about changing the world? Someone changed the world for you. That's why you could study from home, work from home, play from home, watch movies from home. So what are you going to do? Do you want to do something or not? Do you want to make a difference or not? Are you fired up in your mind to make that difference? Are you motivated enough to do it? That is my question for you. Let me take a few minutes on some key leadership behaviors, which I think are very important. When you go out there, I'd like you to please make sure that you apply your whole mind. Now, why do I say whole mind? A lot of people will turn around and say, I'm an engineering student, I'm left-brained. Right? I'm left-brained because I am more about rational thinking. I have great quantitative skills. I apply the left side of my brain. And if I just walk to the other building on your campus, there'll be people who say I'm right-brained. So right-brained is about the arts, it's about empathy, it's about intuition. And I saw some beautiful photography around this campus, that's right-brained. But if you look at your own founder, right, would you say that your founder is right-brained or left-brained? The answer is his whole brain. It's got a great mix of right brain and left brain. And I think we all must learn that. It's not important just to be skilled in one area and not the other. So when you start applying your thinking to helping you achieve your purpose. Please apply your whole mind, the right brain and the left brain. Both are required to help us achieve our purpose. I'm sure this beautiful campus which has come up here is a fine example of how both the right and left brain have come together to create this and create and achieve a purpose in terms of providing high quality education. The second important behavior is that you need to be very, very positive uh, mindset individual. You need to have the passion and energy to make sure that you're able to influence everyone around you in a positive fashion. So you need to follow a style which is not dictatorial, but which takes into account the strengths of every individual on the team. The third message I'd like to share with you is around mindfulness. Mindfulness is about being in the present. If you are in the present, you'll keep your ears and eyes open and look for the opportunities around you, like digital, right? A lot of opportunities around. So be in the present, look around, and you will absolutely come across wonderful opportunities that you can leverage for the future. Many people are prisoners of the past. Please don't be that. Please don't get influenced, because at home when you are there, what happens? Your parents might come and say, "Hey, look at that cousin, right? Cousin did brilliantly well." And then you become a prisoner of the past. This is what my cousin did. This is how my cousin became successful. Should I emulate that? You're living in the present. Please apply your mind to the present. Please look at the opportunities that are there today and in the present. So be mindful of the present. So, as they say, right, our biggest present is the present. So, please make sure that you're leveraging the opportunities from today. I have already spoken about managing fear and leveraging failure. That's the fourth behavior, which is incredibly important for us to imbibe and learn. And last but not least of all is trust. What is trust? When somebody says, "I trust you," why do they say, "I trust you"? Because they know that as an individual, you are doing what you are saying and you are saying what you are thinking. When your thinking, saying, and doing are aligned, that is when you are able to build a circle of trust. So I do hope that these 5 leadership behaviors that I have spoken about will hopefully help you. I do hope that the 3 stories that I told you, you will also perhaps learn something from those stories. And I'm sure that all of you will be incredibly successful in the future. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'd be very happy to take questions. Thank you.
Are there any questions?
There have to be a few questions, right? Because if there are no questions, then I have a doubt on 2 things, right? One is you've not understood a single word of what I said. When the professor asks you any questions, nobody has a question. They get worried, right? The professor gets worried, right? What I taught, did they understand it at all or not? The second is, yeah, we understood everything and we got nothing to ask, which is never the case. So go ahead, ask a couple of questions. Guys at the back always ask the best questions. Don't feel shy, backbenchers. Why are they so nervous? No, there's nothing to be nervous. You can ask me any question. You can tell me, okay, why don't you recite Baba Black Sheep? Fine. We'll all do that together, right? No problem. My name is Manoj. Yeah, please. Sure.
My question is with reference to handling failures, like how did you, in order to have a proper setting of your life, because I'm also willing to learn that kind of a principle that somebody said something, somebody made you feel something. How do you handle that kind of failure? Because it is in that very moment you feel like the world is crashing.
Without
And I
doubt.
can see a lot of my students, like I actually scolded a few of them right away because of the manners and other things. And with reference to it, I've realized that it is a bad thing. I'll talk to them later. But how do you handle failures? Because it's one of the most fundamental thing that we need to learn. And those of us who are there, like we are still in that stage. So how do you manage that?
I think it's about self-belief. That's where it begins from. Now, where does self-belief comes from? Self-belief comes from your confidence, right? From the convictions that you have as an individual. And as I told you, right, your convictions are going to come from the fundamental knowledge that you have. So, Your fundamental knowledge stream will build that conviction, and you know that I'm on the right path. Yeah, there will be failure. So I think you should absolutely assume that you are going to fail more than you are going to succeed. If you look at any business and you ask them what is your market share, right? You look at the largest fast moving consumer goods companies, you look at their market share. Their market share is at best in low double digit, 12, 13, 14%. So even if their market share is 15%, what does that mean? What does that mean? 85% of the market does not buy from them. They are the market leader. You can be the best in your business, and yet many people, a much larger proportion of the population, will not be doing business with you. So, do we then say that this fast moving consumer goods company is a failure? No, because in their market they are number one. But what is the reality? The reality is 85% of the people don't like their product, don't buy from them, whatever be the reason. So, we have to accept the fact that failure is a part of life. How many of you have seen a garden? Everyone's seen a garden. Have you looked at the grass? If you look carefully at the grass, there are more weeds than the grass. But do you pay attention to the weeds? Next time you go, you do that. Right? Unless it's artificial turf, etc. If it's natural grass, you'll find that there are natural weeds which grow with the grass. There are more weeds than grow than grass because weeds grow quicker. But does that mean that the grass is not doing what it should? It gives you the pleasure. That's why you go to the garden. Do you go to the garden to see the weeds? Heck no. You go to the garden to see the grass, the flowers. Similarly, when you look at a rose bush, do you look at the thorns? How many of you go to the rose bush and say, wow, fantastic thorns? Look at the flowers, right? So life is like that. You have to have the conviction that yes, there are things which are not going to go right. You're not going to win every battle. No company has 100% market share, right? There are going to be lots of people who may not want to do business with you, may not go with your thinking, may not go with your logic, may not go with that approach. But that does not mean that you are at fault. All that you need to do is follow a simple principle. I'm sorry, I'm going to take 2 more minutes. There is a Japanese concept called Kaizen. And I have a long story on that. Next time I'm here, we'll talk about it. Kaizen is about improving every day. When you go to sleep at night, please ask yourself a question. Where have I brought an improvement into myself today? And if the answer is no, that's not a good answer. Next day you better do much better. So we must follow the principles of Kaizen. We must make sure that we improve as individuals every day. We must introspect, we must reflect before we go to sleep saying, where is it that I have improved today? Where is it that I have learned something new? As long as you are on that journey, positive journey, you have the knowledge, you have the confidence, you have the conviction. Yes, failures are going to come, but take it in your stride. Don't let it impact you. As they say, sleep over it. Next day in the morning, look at the sun, look at the sky, and remember what Mr. Mehta said. And he said, the sky has not fallen. All right? So please remember that. Okay, guys, are you motivated to ask one more question? You got your teacher to ask. फंसा दिया ना अब आप भी एक पूछो अच्छा है 1 for 1 anyone yes sir I will not let you go till you ask questions all right so you have to ask
Sir, you talked about updating ourselves every week and learning new skills. How can we leverage those skills to get a promotion or increment in our salary, or should we looking for a new job that where we can apply that?
you have to be clear on the goal should not be that I want to learn more because I want a promotion. The reason why you learn is because you want to make sure that you're a better professional. If you're a better professional, you will gain in the long term. Because if you don't keep learning, what's going to happen? What's going to happen if you don't keep learning?
We can be replaced.
Forget whether you can be replaced. Opportunities in the future will be that much more difficult, right? But importantly, do it for yourself because you want to be a better professional. You want to make sure that you know a lot versus everyone else. And my other request to all of you is, when you go into your workplace, if you learn something, you know what you should do? You should create a crasher for everyone. You know what I mean? Let's say that you have gone and learned a new IT skill, language, or a new framework. Then what I'd like you to do is go tell everyone in your workplace, your friends who are there, people who you kind of work with closely, saying, I've learned this new thing, and this Saturday I'm going to hold a class, virtual class, right, from home, 10 to 11. Whoever wants to join can join. And we're going to talk about this topic. Now, why is that important? That's important because when you start teaching others, you'll prepare better also, because now you need to, the professors really put in a lot of effort before they come into class. They don't wake up in the morning and land up in class. Do you know that? You might think it looks like that, but it is not that. Because it comes very easily. It comes with the flow. And you say, professor has been teaching for 30 years, they know this in their sleep. No. Professors prepare for every class, even if they've taught it for 30 years. It comes easy. It comes to you like very natural. Oh, they've been in the sleep also, they can go. It's not true. So, my request to you is study something, make sure that you're able to create a work group or study group at your workplace, teach everyone. In that case, you become much better. You agree with me? When new opportunities come and everyone knows you have the skill, then they are bound to pick you up for those opportunities, give you the opportunity to learn more. So you should please look at promotions, you should look at material, impact and benefit as the byproduct of your effort, not the core reason for that. The core reason has to be because you want to be a better professional. Yeah? Why do you get more marks here? Right? Because you want to make sure that when you go out there, you go with the confidence that, look, I have really put in my hard work and I've seen the fruit and results of my hard work. And everyone else around you will also see that. And academic excellence, people give a lot of credence to that. You all agree with me, right? Like when I interview candidates, if I see that there's somebody who's a top ranker from a good university or college, absolutely, as far as I'm concerned, that candidate is better than others, without doubt. Because you have come here to study, right? That's the core purpose. Of course, yeah, you play games, extracurricular, all that is important. But the core reason you are here is for studying. Am I right or not? So then you better do, I'm not saying everyone can't be a topper, but be in the top 25%, right? Be somewhere right there. Okay. Thank you very much for your question. Thank you very much. It's been a great honor, great pleasure. Thank you.
Sir, we have another question, if it is fine. Because
So first of all, I don't believe that we are competing with each other. No two people on this planet compete. We think we are competing, but we are not. And the reason is because each one of us has a unique skill, which is different from that of the other. So I just want you to kind of bear it in your mind that you have certain capabilities, that you've got certain talent, which is very unique to you. So we compete, but yet we don't compete. I think the only person we compete with is ourselves. So you need to make sure that if I know 3 things today, tomorrow do I know 4? Am I better tomorrow than I was yesterday? And so on and so forth. Coming to your point, I think it's very important to define your own purpose and where is it that you think you can make a difference. And for each one of us, the answer is not going to be the same. Right? Somebody here might say, yes, I've come, I've got a degree, but really my passion is in music. Now, does that mean that that person has not been successful in life? That's never true. I know many of my friends, from my very close friends of mine, from my college days, studied engineering, but became very successful journalists. Nobody even knows that they had a technical education. In fact, one of my seniors, he was a National Science Talent Scholar. India rank was 2 or 3. And then he went to IIT, then he went to IIM. And he said, no, I don't want to do any of this, I want to become a journalist. Chose that path, right? It's amazing. You can say India lost a brilliant scientist, but I don't know whether they gained a great journalist or not. So I'm just saying that you need to be clear. So what's your competition? You yourself are your competition. Focus on becoming better as an individual, as a professional. And you're never going to lose out. Don't look around. Don't get, somebody gets a promotion, it shouldn't impact you. The problem we have is that your neighbor goes, buys a new TV, you get very worried. And now, of course, if in your class somebody gets a better smartphone, you get worried because they think that person has gone ahead. So don't compare yourself. Material, benefits, etc., all those get lost very quickly. So don't worry about it. You are studying in this wonderful institution, right? There's Swami Vivekananda everywhere here, right? So we must learn from his teachings. Material benefits is good. I mean, I'm not saying you must have food, shelter, clothing. All that is fine. That's why Swami Vivekananda also said. Right? You cannot remember God on an empty stomach. But that doesn't mean you overeat. Right?
Thank you, sir.
So you'll do well, compete against yourself. Become better as a professional every day.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead.
Sir, let's say someone has a goal and someday he or she reaches that goal, but they are not as satisfied or as happy that they expected to be. Then what after?
Yeah, but then that goal post also keeps changing. So I'll tell you another true story. See, every time you ask, then there's a story which I'll tell you. So I'll stand up. I'll tell you the story. So the true story is that when I was a very young executive, someone asked me that when do you think you are going to be successful? What is your yardstick? Goal. The question on goal. I said if I have, and Professor, you would remember this. At that time, this was like a really big goal. If I have a second-hand car, so a new car impossible, right? And I have an apartment of my own, and I become the general manager of the business, I would say I've been very successful. That is my goal at the time of retirement. So at the time of retirement, I have a second-hand car, I've got an apartment, I am a general manager, and that's it. I'm very successful. Sometimes luck is in your favor. So 5 years later, I had all those. So then my friends came to me and said, Manoj, we remember, now you have achieved. So retire. Ho jao. I said, I'm in my 20s. How can I retire in my 20s? Retirement age that time was 58 years. Now, of course, it's 60. And in case of education professors, 65 and so on. But for us in the business side, it was 58. And I said, I got like so many years. How can I retire now? So the goalpost then changed. Then it was no longer about a second-hand car. Then what was it about? New car. Not about small apartment. It was about big apartment. It was about not general manager, right? Now I want to be the executive vice president. So then few years later that happened. Then what? Then I turned around and said, okay, now I want to become the president. Then I want to have 2 cars now, one for my wife, one for me. Both big cars. And I want a bigger house. Right. And so the goal kept changing as one went along. And I think that's true about life as well. So you set a goal, achieve the goal, very quickly your ambition will drive you to the next goal. You never know where life is going to take you, all right? But have a goal to start with. It's good. I started with a humble goal, second-hand car. I become general manager. Have some apartment of my own. Achieve that move. Some people begin with a very big goal. That's not bad. But just make sure that you don't become anxious to achieve that through shortcuts. So that is the other downside, right? Do things with integrity. Do things with honesty. Do things sincerely. These are values which will go a long, long, long way in helping you. Shortcuts have never helped anyone. They've only landed people in trouble. And the less we talk about those guys, the better. All right? So follow your goals, follow your vision, follow your dreams, but within the sandbox of integrity. So draw that Lakshman Rekha around you, the Lakshman Rekha of integrity. As long as I do things with integrity, here are my goals, and we'll keep building from there. Right? Using your whole brain, right? So typically, what they say is that there are two kinds of people. There are people who are more focused around quantitative skills, like we would see in our own families, we would see with ourselves as well. And then there are people who are very much attuned to the arts, very much attuned to emotions. And we've seen those people around as well. And you see that, I'm sure in this hall, there are many people very talented in music, painting, photography, dance. So they tend to be called right brain people. We have labeled them, right? Whereas the guys who are good in maths, good in science, very good in mathematical skills, we tend to say that they are left brain. When we want to solve a real problem, you need to apply both the left brain and the right brain. The left brain, because quantitative skills help you to analyze the problem very well. The right brain, because you need those skills to be able to help engage and to help get people around you to also work with you to solve the problem. So without a right-brained approach, you can do any amount of analysis and paralysis. You will not be able to solve the problem because nobody can individually go and achieve the results that they're looking for. So every problem statement that needs to be solved needs good quantitative rigor and it needs right brain thinking, both coming together. Then you will be able to solve the problem. I spoke about Kaizen, right? Kaizen is the same. Every day in the evening when you go, you will say, I did this and you know what? I helped this person become better. I helped teach someone become better. The teaching part, what you're teaching is quantitative. The helping part is your right brain. So your left brain and your right brain came together to help somebody maybe learn a new lesson or learn a new skill and so on. So we can apply this to any problem statement. And I can prove to you that the best solutions are when right brain and left brain come together. So please apply your whole brain. Don't look at it and say, oh, this is a maths problem. Let me just go apply my left brain. I'm out of there. Yes, you solved that. But there was a purpose as to why you were solving that problem. To achieve that purpose, your right brain thinking has to come into play. Right? Thank you. Thank you.
In conclusion of the event, I extend my sincerest gratitude to you, sir, for graciously addressing our students. And all of us had a lot of questions, and I think you have answered them fabulously. Like we were having that kind of clarity. So for that, I think Harsh sir, if you can give the vote of thanks for sir.
On behalf of our chairman, vice chairman, Sadgopanji, the faculty and the students, I put my sincere thanks to Manoj sir, and I think his words of wisdom, whatever I think he's been saying, and in the last 1 hour, came from his heart and his experience. So both left and the right side, and I'm sure it has made a lot of impact and dent on the students, which is going to go a long way in decision making in your career. Whenever you are in a situation, remember those stories because the best way to communicate, the best way to leave, the impact in your mind is to convey the story, right? Because you don't remember, as he rightly said, the PowerPoint presentation. You only remember if it is related to your own self and your experience in life. So while he was narrating, I could, get my own, self, how things happened and how, I experienced each and everything. And while you said a simple word, that when you're getting an order, say thank you. I remembered, that in Xerox we are taught Spanko. Has anybody heard Spanko? Has anybody heard the word called Spanko? Nobody has heard, because Spanko is Xerox proprietary teaching. I'm sure you would have definitely heard that, because it comes in the professional setup, and they teach you how you close the order. Like he talked about, you are given the order. So we are teaching the order in a professional way by Spanko process, which is called suspecting, prospecting, approach, negotiate, close, and then you get an order. Spanko, simple. And we have a 7 days program of Spanko at Xerox Rampur, and everybody has to go through, whether it is managing director or he is a quota bearing salesman, we call it QBS. Now, one guy, he said, I'm going to go on the field. I've learned Spanko in a big way. And he went to, a customer, and he gave all the presentation, whatever he could. And finally, the customer says, here is the order. He says, sorry, I have not even negotiated with you. I said, I've never even approached you. I just gave you my presentation. So sometimes things come in your lap, and whatever you have learned, you have to give, an understanding that if you are reaching the last stage and the whole other process is not being done, here what matters is the output, right? Though we discussed the process is important, but finally you got that. And later on you can do the introspection or review mechanism. How did you get it? Why did you get it? What made sure? So I remember that incident, while you were narrating that. So thank you so much once again for your time, and we are delighted and we are privileged to have you. So nice. Let me call that as a token of our appreciation. I'm requesting Madam Chandra ji to come and present a lotus to Shri Manoj ji. This is from the college, and a beautiful part. Please, this side, this side. Thank you very much, students, also for, I think, hearing and spending the time together here.